Location lighting is one of the most important tools a photographer, videographer can have in their toolkit. This is the ability to come to a location and bring minimal equipment and make beautiful light for your portrait, for your interview, whatever you need. So stick with us today. We're going to show you a 3-light setup. We're in beautiful historic Heinz Hall, and we're really excited to teach you guys some stuff. This is the Neewer Academy. So let's talk really quick about the location that you're going to be using. You don't always get a beautiful theater like this. A lot of the times you're going to end up in a small room, an office setting. Really, it's up to the publication that's paying you to be there. Your job as a photographer, videographer, filmmaker is to make the space beautiful using the equipment you have. And that's really the art of location lighting. So we're going to talk about where to find good locations to use. We're going to talk about gear, and we're going to talk about how to place your lights to get that gorgeous light to make your shoot look great. So the first thing is going to be our location. We have, like I said, this beautiful building, but the building is huge. There's this grand lobby behind us, there's the theater, there's the stage, there's behind the scenes. There's all these incredible places that we could shoot. So we ended up here on the balcony of the grand lobby. And I just love the depth of this room. It's funny to even call it a room. It doesn't feel like a room. It's massive in here. I also like that we have mixed light. So we've got a big window over here behind me. We've got all these beautiful chandeliers. We've got these wall sconces, all tungsten balanced. So it gives us a little bit of a dynamic place to shoot. And we can use those different color lights to tie our photograph, our portrait together to make really beautiful light. So let's talk about our gear, and then we'll start our setup, and we'll get rolling. So let's talk about gear. Today we have 3 of these 660 panel lights from Neewer. These are the 660 Pros RGB. So these lights have a number of modes, a number of functions. The first of those is going to be your Kelvin scale, so your daylight to tungsten. The second mode is going to be switching in between colors, any color you want. And the third are going to be sort of special scene modes, sort of special effects. So let's power this guy on. Speaking of which, really quick on power, check out my batteries. I'm running this light on 2 batteries and there's no power cords snaking all over the ground. These guys will let this light power 100% for I think 3 hours. So pretty remarkable. When you're on a location, you don't always have access to power, and you also maybe don't want to snake cables all over the place. Batteries are a really good tool for location lighting. So let's take a look at this light. One thing I'll note really quick is that you can mount these vertically, or you can mount them horizontally on the stand. This allows you a greater range of motion when you're shooting, especially if your barn doors are out. You don't want those to get in the way. So you'll notice a couple of ours during our shoot are going to be horizontal. For our purposes right now, I'm going to keep this vertical. So we turn this guy on. And you can see already we're in our white balance color temperature mode. So we've got 2 dials on the back we can look at. One dial is going to change our color temperature to go from daylight to tungsten, and the other one is going to be our power output. So between those 2, we can balance, the different kind of forms of light, the different intensities and power and everything else to craft our beautiful light. So I'll show you really quick too. This is the RGB setting. Obviously we're in blue, not going to be great for here. And our third is our scene modes. So here we are with parties. I think there's fireworks and TV and flickering and all sorts of stuff. Not appropriate for us, but very cool that it can do that, especially for motion pictures. Okay, so we're going to stick with the Kelvin scale right now. And actually, before we get moving, I want to introduce you to Christian. Christian is going to be our model, our subject. Christian, this is Christian Kriegscott. Christian is the manager of popular programming at the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, and he's agreed to be our subject today. So we're going to tackle this almost like an editorial portrait, if you were here for like a magazine, a newspaper to shoot a portrait of Christian, or maybe like a documentary, so we're here to interview Christian. Either way, we're going to have him sit right here, and we're going to start modeling our lights. So the first thing we're going to set up is our key light. All right, so the first step for lighting is going to be your key light. The key light is the main light. This is going to provide sort of the main basis for the rest of your lights. It's the foundation that all the other light gets built on. So let's talk really quick about direction. I think this is kind of a fun place to start to talk about the language of your light. So again, look, no chords, love it. Here's Christian, and let's just take a look at how direction plays a part in how this portrait is shaping up. Let's get this light directly in front of you. So the directly in front light, this is kind of just like the headlights. Nobody's going to look great here. He's separated from the background, sure enough, but man, it's not very flattering light. As we start coming around the face, you can see we start getting a little bit more dimension to our light, a little bit more interest. And then, obviously if we keep going around, things get very dramatic. So I think a really comfortable place to be for a main light is right probably about here on a face. Now, the other thing to think about is sort of the vertical spot. Do you want to be down? Do you want to be up? I really like to show kind of what the different directions do to a face. So if we're shooting down on a subject, all of a sudden we're looking in, it's like The Godfather. We've got this very dramatic light. We don't want that, but you can see it's very effective if that's the look you're going for. We can, honestly, this kind of light right here, we're almost always trying to avoid this kind of light. This is the kind of light we get when we go into any location. We never like it. If we come down, this is campfire light. Again, cool if this is what you're going for. We're not going for it. Right in the middle is okay. I think kind of coming up a little bit more is really our sweet spot for our light. So when we're up around here on a face, just getting a little bit of light on our opposite cheek, letting that shadow kind of go down the face, this is really where we want our light to be. So I'm going to set my stand up so my light's right here. So I'm going to bring this light up, and I'll angle it down. Now the problem that I'm seeing right now is this is a little too intense. This direction is nice, but I don't like sort of the sharpness of the light. Your light gets softer as the light source gets bigger, and we can't really make our light source any bigger. We can't stretch the metal. What we can do is use something like this. So this is a 5-in-1 reflector. Come like this. We can use this to bounce light, but what I really like is inside that has a frame with a sheer material on it. If we put this between our subject and the light, all of a sudden we have much nicer diffused light. This is a Neewer product, by the way. It's on their website. They're not very expensive and really a great thing to have for location lighting. So you can see right there, much nicer light. So all I'm going to do is put a light stand in, right in between my light and my subject. And I'm just going to clamp it on my stand. Not very sophisticated, but it doesn't have to be. And I know that the stand is kind of interrupting the light. Doesn't matter. We're getting a nice big light source. Now one thing is, as soon as I do that, it's cutting out my light quite a bit. And it's also interrupting my frame. So let's move that right there. Now the only problem is we've really cut our light down significantly when we put this in. So what I want to do is come back here on my light, and I'm going to dial this puppy up. And actually we're at 100%, and I think that looks really nice. So one of our 660 heads, daylight balanced, I should mention. So we're cameras are balanced to daylight. We've got some of that daylight coming in from the window behind us, and now our key light is casting that daylight balanced light as well. I like to kind of imagine a scenario when I'm lighting This is like, I'm imagining there's a window right off frame. Nice diffuse light, nice cloudy day, and it's going to be spilling this light right onto Christian. So here's our key light all set up. Now let's get over and do our fill light. All right, so we've got our key light set up, really liking our main light, but if you look, we've got really deep shadows on this side of Christian's face. And while sometimes you want more dramatic light, it's not really what we want to go for here. We want a more full light on our subject. So I'm going to set up my second light as a fill light, okay? It's going to be on the opposite side of the face, and it's just going to pull some more information into these shadows. So I've got another one of my 660 set up. Let's just click it on here. Okay, so immediately we can see more information in Christian's face. The problem is now we have a sort of battle of key lights. That's not what we want. In fact, this is probably overpowering the key light we've already got. So we need to bring this light down, 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 down. And the other thing to think about, and this is one of the fun parts about location lighting, is we can start using some of our secondary lights to bring a little more information, a little bit more character into our scene. So for instance, in the frame that we're looking at right now, there's warm light coming in from this side of the frame, and there's cool light coming in from this side of the frame. The windows in the background, our cool daylights coming in from our key light. So our fill light can actually be used to kind of bring a little bit more warmth into the frame, because it's already here. It's from these candelabras, from the chandeliers. So I'm going to go to the back of this light, and we can see how the light's going to change as I warm the temperature up. So here I am at 5,000. Before I was at 5,500 Kelvin. Now I'm at 5,000. Now here I'm at 4,000. And then I can go all the way down to 3,200. Now 3,200 is probably going to be matching the light sources. I think it's a little too warm, so I'm actually going to bring this up just a skosh. There we are, 3,600. I think that's a pretty good looking warm light that kind of brings some of the warmth in from our background and ties it in with the light on our portrait. However, the light is way too bright. I'm going to go off and on here so you can see it. So way too bright. So we're just going to bring this guy way down. Here we are at 50%. 25. Now we're all the way down at 5%. And I think that this is a nicer look. So you might not even think we're getting much light at 5%, but you can see when I start blocking it, it's actually quite a bit. It's warm, so it's a different color temperature from our sort of mock window, our key light. And it's really giving just a little bit of fill on this side of the face. Like I said, if you're looking for dramatic light, you can forgo your fill light. If you really want to dim it down even further, put some more diffusion in, you can get those deeper shadows, like you can see here. For this shoot, for this place, I like a more full light. So we're going to keep this one as it is, and we're going to introduce our third light, which is going to be our backlight. Okay, so we have our key light set up. We've got this nice soft light coming in, hitting Christian, almost like a big window right off frame. We have our fill light that we're using to bring a little bit of warm light in from the background to act as our fill. So the third light that we can use to set up is going to be the backlight. You could also call this a hair light or a rim light. What this is going to do is separate him a little bit from the background and just give a little punch to the image. You might not think that such a subtle little light is going to make a big difference. It makes a huge difference. So honestly, if I was ever going to forgo one light, just do a 2-light setup instead of 3, I probably would get rid of my fill, have a nice strong backlight, a nice good key light, and then maybe one of those reflectors could be on the fill light to give a little bit of bounce. But hey, we've got 3 lights, we're going to use 3 lights. Let's see what happens when we turn this guy on here behind Christian. Okay, so you can see where the placement of this light is. I just have it like right behind his shoulder, and I'm just pointing it, just right at him. Now, the light coming off of this is powered way up. This is at about 100%. It's not about, this is at 100%. So lots of power, too much power Again, all these lights, you can bring them up, bring them down, really make dramatic scenes, subtle scenes. Always want to ask yourself, what is the scene I'm shooting? Who is my subject? You're not always looking to make the coolest picture, you're looking to make the most appropriate picture. So this light might be cool kinda, but it's not appropriate. So we're gonna bring this way down. So I'm gonna bring that from 100 down to 50. And then I'm gonna take it even further. That's at 15%, and I like that. At 15%, I think it's gonna give us that nice light coming in. We're gonna hit the side of Christian's face. We're gonna give a little bit of light here on his shoulder, but we're not gonna blast him into next year. Now, we have the current color temperature on this set to 5600 Kelvin, and that's the same as our cameras, it's the same as our key light. I think that that's a nice place to be because it's on the same side of Christian as our key light. So if you're on this side, again, we're kind of imagining that there's some natural light source coming from this direction. So this is just going to be further part of that. If we were going to put our backlight on the other side of Christian, I would probably turn it to tungsten to match our warm light coming in from that side of the room. Again, if you blasted him with tungsten light, way too much, but a little bit of information on his shoulder, the side of his face, could be kind of cool. I like it on this side to match up with our key, and I think we've got a really good looking frame. So one of the things that I really like to do at this point is to turn our lights on and off, and so we can see how everything is affecting our final frame. So first off, here we're going to turn off our backlight. Then let me come around and turn off the fill. And then now let's turn off our key. And now we can bring these back in one at a time and see exactly what they're doing to our light. So we've seen what our key light does when we take it out and put it back in. I'll just do it really quick so you can see. Key light out, or key light in, key light out. Let's just take a look at our fill light isolated. So there's our fill light, and here it is off. And then here's our backlight. And that's our backlight off. So bringing them back in one at a time, we can see how each one contributes to this final frame. And really, I'm really happy with this light. I think this is looking really sharp. We've got a good eye line for Christian for our interview. We're ready to shoot a portrait. And I think things are looking really good. All right, so there you go. 3 lights: key light, fill light, backlight. Simple, very simple, but I think it made really nice light, fit the environment well. This stuff breaks down super easy, it's easy to carry, it's light, and using these batteries, we're able to shoot wherever we want and not have to worry about snaking cables along the ground or finding outlets for everything. So I think this is a really nice, simple way to do some good location lighting. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more content. Anything else you'd like to see us do, any other lighting tutorials, camera tutorials, leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, appreciate it.